welcome to the first episode of the Feedback Revolution show, brought to you by the Vantta team. We're creating the feedback revolution, and we're honored to have as our first guest, Michael Brandt. Michael, thank you so much for being here. I'll just do a quick intro about you. Michael is a super seasoned CX professional. He spent over 24 years working for ABB Group in several different roles, such as VP of Customer Loyalty, VP Voice of Customer. He was responsible for ABB's global customer feedback and complaint management processes. He also spent 7 years in Japan at the head of a sales and services joint venture. Currently, Michael spearheads CX Excellence. You guys should definitely check out their website. They do end-to-end customer experience consultancy, and he has a lovely dog called Watson. Michael, thank you so much for being here with us today. Uh, we will be discussing a very dear to you subject, if I can say, which is, do companies actually care about your opinion as a customer?
Thanks for the introduction, Vitor. First of all, I think we shouldn't tar everyone with the same brush. There are definitely companies out there that are doing a great job of customer experience and customer services. But many CX professionals are saying that the budgets for customer experience are going to be reduced this year, and that's a worrying trend. Business is cyclical. Customers have a long memory, and this kind of strategy may work as long as it's a seller's market. But if there's a downturn, or should I say, when there's a downturn in the market, these companies are going to suffer as customers turn to those who've offered better service in the past, rather than the companies that they've just tolerated. But I think in many cases, this kind of strategy sometimes is unintentional, and it can be the result of lack of understanding of customer needs, badly executed plans for digitalization and automation. Some companies, particular smaller companies, but not only, don't necessarily sometimes they think they know what the customer wants, and they don't bother going to get the feedback. And not everything can be automated. Technology can't replace humans in all cases. So sometimes this badly implemented technology is also the cause for a bad customer experience. But okay, automation of technology, that's a topic in itself, right? So yes, I think it's an issue for many companies, with the businesses going well, so they don't necessarily see the need to focus too much on customer feedback and the customer service. With regard to the feedback, I think that companies do it as an alibi exercise, window dressing, if you like. I think they say, okay, everybody does it, so we should do it too. But the fact is that in many cases, badly designed surveys, even the fact of trying to collect the feedback is a nuisance to customers. Let's face it, if you get a survey that starts off and you see the progress bar at the top of the screen, then you wonder yourself, okay, how long is this actually going to take?
Exactly.
And do I want to do this? Generally, if I get something with a progress bar, I stop immediately. I mean, is it really important if I like the color of the bathroom in a hotel where I'm staying? Not really. I think in many cases we need to concentrate on what is important, what data is important, stop collecting data that's irrelevant, and just for the sake of collecting data, and we need to collect data and this customer feedback with a clear purpose. We need to be transparent with data that we collect and what we do with the data that we collect. One store that my wife goes to often, and I refuse to join her there, is always sending her surveys, and she recommends it. But it doesn't make any visible difference if she gives her negative feedback. She never gets any information back from the company what they're doing it. And she asks me, as the resident C expert in our house, why she should
Yeah.
bother us. And to be honest, I have a hard time telling her why she should, because it's frustrating if customers ask your opinion and you never know what they're doing with it and you see no difference.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, and I think you've mentioned two or three really good ones. Let me take the one you said about companies that are on the sellers market that are really big, and they don't think they should or have to care about customer opinion. In the last 20 years, yeah, around that, over 50% of Fortune 500 companies have disappeared in their longevity rate. So in times they used to last like 33 years average on the Fortune 500 side. Now it's down to less than 15 years. So they should definitely worry and do it, in a good way and do it in the better way, in the best way possible. Collecting the feedback. But then taking again on the fact that it's time consuming, do you think that's a problem that companies don't actually know how to put together a feedback survey, for example? They are asking too many things that don't really matter and they end up not getting the responses they would like. So thus they don't get a true picture of the business. So do you think they should try to ask maybe 20% of what they are asking currently and get 80% of the output, like power laws at play when you're asking for feedback?
Absolutely. I think that, as I was saying before, when you get these surveys with progress bars, then you wonder, these companies are going to get so much data that they don't really know where to start analyzing.
Yeah.
And I think what we need to do is really focus on what is truly important, right? So we should try and focus on what we actually want to know from the customer. What are our priorities? And we get that information back, and then we have to deal with it. We have to do something with it. It's not good enough just to gather data for the sake of doing it, but we actually have to really have a concept of how we process this information and what the corrective actions are going to be. In one of my last positions, I would get many people coming to me and saying, we'd like to do a survey for our customers. And I would say to them, okay, what actually do you want to know? Right?
Yeah.
And I would say to them, okay, I want you to do several things. I want you to go away. I want you to write out for me what the concept is, who's responsible, what the process is for dealing with the information, how you're going to analyze it. And very often these people didn't come back, because this was too much work for them. And I think this is the really important thing. If you're going to go out and ask customers, what they want, what their feedback is, then you really have to have a solid process for dealing with this feedback. Of course, there are also the other customers, and the point you made about the Fortune 500 is very interesting, because companies that just take this attitude that business is good and they don't really need to take a look at take the customer feedback seriously. These companies are actually opening the door for new market entrants, right? Because the new companies that are starting up, they'll see the niche where these companies are not providing the service that their customers want, and they'll see this as an opportunity to enter the market. So companies like that, they're actually creating a springboard for their own competitors.
Yeah, that's a great point. So now let's take advantage of your great CX experience. And for those for our listeners out there, how can a company be sustainable and competitive if they are not truly customer centric? And then if they are not, and they realize that they are not, and they want to give their first small steps towards that, what should they be looking at in order to do and start doing it?
Okay, well, I don't, as I said before, I don't think that I don't think companies can be sustainable if they really don't take customer feedback seriously and offer what their customers want. Without going into the whole revamp of a CX strategy, which of course is a really serious undertaking, if you want to look at the quick wins, the first thing that has to be absolutely sure is that senior management is absolutely on board and with a customer-focused strategy. And there has to be a very, very clear message from the top. yes, we want to be customer focused. We're going to do what it takes, and this is our policy. And basically, everybody has to be part of the program.
Yeah.
The second step would be to look at your KPIs, right? Because very often KPIs are set by operational guys, and they don't necessarily think of the bigger picture. They just want to improve the operational results. Short term, they set KPIs, and KPIs very often encourage the wrong kind of behavior. People are very creative when it comes to meeting targets. And so if you're not very careful when you set your KPIs, you could actually be encouraging people to act in an opposite way to the manner that you want. And then I think the third step, which is really important, is to look at who your customers are. Make sure that you know who your customers are. So put together the what we call customer personas, and look at the customer journey. The customer journey, thinking of the customer journey sounds complicated, but it's actually a fun exercise. If you get people from across the organization to sit down in one room and say, okay, what is our customer's journey throughout our organization, right from the very beginning of the customer journey to the end of the customer journey. And you look at the touch points, and you look at the weaknesses, you look at the handoffs from one department to another, and you can get some very quick wins by looking at this very openly and say, well, we could do this better. We could do that better. This is a potential area of friction. How can we avoid that? And by improving this, as I said, you can reach some very quick wins and improve your customer experience fairly quickly.
Yeah. I've seen a very interesting story actually on one of your posts recently on LinkedIn about this C-level meeting where supposed to be smartest people in the room were discussing how can we make it harder for our customers to reach out to us and to contact us so we can lower our costs. So, and I was thinking, obviously, we've built Vantta because we noticed there's like a gap in the market. And I was thinking, speaking in a more macro way, why aren't companies lowering their operational costs by reducing contact center contacts from customers, by doing a feedback collection that is more agile and more facing towards continuous improving, like collecting smaller chunks of feedback along the way and actually knowing what they're collecting and knowing their customer and taking quicker, linear steps towards improving. Would this be a solution? Why are not companies doing this today?
Sure, no, I think that's actually a good way to do it. I think that when you get feedback from a customer, you have to separate it into two parts. You have to look at the things you can act on quickly and give the customer quick satisfaction, and these also they're quick wins, right? But you also have to look at the bigger picture, the systemic issues, and maybe need a little bit longer. But yeah, I mean, customer feedback, it should be the input for continuous improvement projects.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely right. That's the way that it should be done. I think that to reach a sustainable level of customer experience, that is the way that it needs to be done.
Yeah, I agree with you, Michael. I think in terms of macro questions, we are actually done here. The main takeaway is that companies should maybe do a self-assessment towards their processes, and if they are really customer centric, and they should be looking to move quickly and in a more, let's say, leave the ego at the door when they are dealing with customer feedback, because that's going to pay off later, because knowing you are providing a service that has nothing to do with you as a person. So let's focus on actually listening to our customers more continuously in a more friendly way. And let's try to improve and adequate our process towards that feedback that's coming in. I think ego can be an issue really here. But yeah, I think we're making progress, definitely. And with good professionals like you, spreading the word and trying to adjust and help companies do feedback collection in a better way, I think we can actually go places here, Michael.
Thanks.
Cool.
Yes.
So to finish, we have these 4 rapid-fire questions. The idea is I'm going to ask you 4 questions, and you just have to answer them like quickly. Okay. Best advice you've ever got?
I think it was my grandfather who said, if you're going to do something, then you have to do it properly, or don't do it at all.
Yeah, I like it. I've heard somewhere, I think it was on a Tim Ferriss podcast or book, the way you do something is the way you do everything. And I think it's pretty similar. Okay. Worst advice you ever got?
Anybody who ever says trust me, that generally that doesn't work out. If somebody has to say trust me, generally they're not very trustworthy.
Okay, I like it. It's a good one. Cool. So this is a bit more provoking one. Worst customer experience you remember being through?
The worst customer experience I remember is actually not that long ago. We had some equipment in our kitchen we put something out, and the manufacturer came on a service call. They didn't really, the engineers didn't know the equipment. They asked my wife for the user manual. Of course, there was nothing in the user manual. Then they said that it actually wasn't manufactured by them. It was manufactured by somebody else, and they don't sell it anymore, but they didn't know about it. And it needs a place, and they didn't know when they'd be able to get the part. And they would let us know. They didn't let us know. I called up, and they still didn't let us know. And then finally, 2 weeks later, they did. Then I was sent an NPS survey, and the NPS survey asked me if I wanted to be contacted by them. So I ticked yes, and they did contact me. They sent me the invoice. So, so this wasn't really a very satisfactory.
That's terrible. That's very interesting. Let me just add up this really quick. So those types of service providers are the ones we are trying to tap in right now. So if they cared enough about feedback with our solution, they could now give you the chance to on the spot let the company know that the service didn't really match the expectations. And I think that by knowing that real time on their pockets, I think managers would actually care, because sometimes it's just the bureaucracy and the sheer size of the companies that gets in the way of just solving the issues. Cool. Last question. Last time you were dazzled as a customer, what comes to your mind?
Actually, it has to be when I was in Japan. As you said, I spent 7 years in Japan, and this was a real eye opener when it came to customer service.
Mm-hmm.
And I one day, my wife and I, we had bought a foot spa.
Wow.
But the feet were far bigger than the average Japanese feet, so it never really worked properly. So it was 3 years old. It was out of warranty, and to dispose of electrical goods in Japan is quite expensive. So we went to the store where we bought it, and we asked them to dispose of it. And the young lady at the counter said to us, "Well, why do you want to get rid of it?" And we said, "Well, it never really worked. It wasn't really what we wanted. It didn't really work, but we don't want our money back. I haven't got the receipt. It's out of warranty. I would just like you to dispose of it." She called the manager. The manager came, and he asked us the same questions. And finally, he said to us, "It's not acceptable for me that you bought something here that you were not satisfied with."
Wow. Can you repeat that? Can you repeat that? It's not.
It's not satisfactory. It's not acceptable to me that you bought something from our store that you're not satisfied with.
Wow.
And
Okay.
if it was a long time ago, I will refund your money. We weren't asking for a refund,
Wow.
but we walked out of there and he refunded us the money. And my wife and I, we were absolutely flabbergasted. I mean, this is something, and maybe when we were in Japan, we were very spoilt by the level of service. When we came back to Europe, it was quite a culture shock.
I think, yeah, I see the cultural importance here, stepping up. Yeah. So this was it when it comes to our conversation around, do customers actually care about your opinion? Do companies actually care about your opinion as a customer? If you're listening and if you wonder, if you are curious of what Michael could do extra for you, please go visit cxexcellence.com, visit Michael LinkedIn. I'm going to make sure it is tagged when we share this. And Michael, last one for you. If you had to name a guest for our next episode, who would it be?
I would think of Veronica Luxemburg. Veronica Luxemburg is someone that I've worked with quite a lot. She's Swedish. She's just started up also a new consultancy in Sweden, CQX. She looks at customer experience also from a quality perspective. She has a lot of new ideas. She's very committed. I think she'd be a great guest.
That's amazing. Michael, thank you so much, like the Japanese we do for you. And yeah, guys, if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to the newsletter because we're going to make sure that we keep bringing content as valuable as the one we try to bring today with experts, like Michael with 24 years of experience within this market at ABB, such a fantastic group. Thank you so much, and I see you next time.
Thank you, Victor.